Welcome back to CBS This Morning and our continuing coverage of the 2020 election. This morning, CBS News projects former Vice President Joe Biden has 253 electoral votes and President Trump 213. More than 140 million votes have been tallied. The most heavily populated state still in question is Pennsylvania. The president's lead there is narrowing with more mail-in ballots added to the totals. State law allows ballots that arrive as late as tomorrow to be counted if they're postmarked by Election Day. Trump campaign lawyers are demanding, quote, meaningful access to review ballots that have already been counted. Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro says the vote count is fully transparent. In addition to the presidential race, he's waiting for the results in his own re-election bid. We welcome the Attorney General. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you.
How many votes are left to count, and what kind of guideline can you give us as to what the breakdown of those votes is, Attorney General?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to be with you this morning. And I recognize the people of Pennsylvania and the American people want answers from Pennsylvania. And I can assure them, maybe going a little slow, but it's going very, very smooth. And I want to give a shout out and thanks to all the clerks who are just working overtime right now to get this done. You know, the Secretary of State yesterday, I think, gave the best indication in terms of the ballots that are left and how it's going. She indicated that the vast majority of those ballots would be done counted today. So I think you'll have a better sense of where Pennsylvania is likely to land later today. In terms of sort of predictions and all that, I'm not a pundit. I'm not going to get into that. My focus has been on making sure that it's a smooth process, that the law is followed, and that all legal votes are counted. And that's exactly what's happening here in Pennsylvania.
Is what's left to count mostly mail-in ballots? And do you have a sense of what counties they're from, what areas?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, a number of the public reports indicated that they're largely mail-in ballots, that there's a good chunk from southeastern Pennsylvania and Allegheny County, where Pittsburgh is. But I want to caution you and the viewers, you know, I'm not tracking that. That's the Secretary of State's job. And I think the best thing we can do right now is to be patient, let these great clerks do their jobs. I recognize everybody's on edge. My kids keep waking me up, asking me what's going on. Everybody wants to know. And the best thing we can do is get an accurate count and make sure that these legal votes are counted. And that's exactly what's happening here in Pennsylvania.
The president has already claimed that he's won Pennsylvania. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it doesn't work that way. A candidate doesn't claim something. What happens here in Pennsylvania, according to the law, and it's my job as the chief law enforcement officer of the Commonwealth to enforce that law, is to make sure that legal votes are counted. And then when they are, that the will of the people is respected. And that's the process we're going through right now. And so I think it really does a disservice to these community members who are doing the counting. It does really a disservice to the Commonwealth and the country to make those kinds of predictions or proclamations. Look, here's the deal. We don't need spin anymore. The campaigns are over. What needs to happen right now is for us to have some patience, to do a count, and to make sure it's accurate. And that's what's happening here in Pennsylvania.
The Trump campaign is asking the Supreme Court to join an appeal to throw out mail-in ballots received up to 3 days after Election Day. Talk us through that law very quickly, if you can, and why it exists.
Yeah, real quick. So our Pennsylvania Supreme Court heard this issue, several weeks ago, and determined that if a ballot was postmarked by Election Day and received up until Friday, tomorrow, at 5 p.m., that it's a legal vote and it's going to be counted. On two separate occasions, Republicans and those aligned with the Trump administration asked the United States Supreme Court to step in and reverse that. And on two separate occasions, they refused to do that. It would appear now that the Trump campaign's trying to get the United States Supreme Court to take it up a third time. And we obviously don't even know if they would take it up. My message here in Pennsylvania is very simple. Follow the law, and the law says that these ballots that were postmarked by Election Day and received up until Friday are legal votes, and they will be counted.
All right, Mr. Attorney General, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We really appreciate it.